Call this meeting of the Fargo School Board to order. We have two members who will be joining us very shortly. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the HR addendum that is at your table.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There is no one signed up to speak in the audience. Is there anyone who may have missed the sign-up sheet who wishes to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to staff reports. David?
I have no report.
Excuse me. Didn't anticipate that. Thank you for being here at our meeting. Excuse me. Dr. Gross, you have the honors tonight of introducing our guests.
Thank you very much. At our last board meeting, Denise Odegaard was here to talk a little bit about STEAM education, and she focused in on the A of STEAM, the arts. Tonight, Dr. Jonas is here to share with us more of the other components of STEAM and really highlight some of the things that we are doing around career and tech education here in the district, at the middle level and at the high school. So with that, I just want to turn it over to Dr. Jonas.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you again for allowing me to have some time in front of you to share a little bit more about the great opportunities we have in Fargo Public Schools for career and technical education. And I just wanted to walk through there. It's kind of twofold tonight. The first part is going to be just an update on Fargo Public Schools and what's happening within the buildings, and then also a little extension on the Cass County CTE Center and some programs that students have an opportunity to participate in as well. So the first thing I think that we always stop and talk about is career and technical education, is that opportunity to explore, educate, and prepare. So we have career-ready students. And, you know, moving forward, we think about our students at this level as how do we help them think about what do they enjoy, what are they passionate about, and then what are they good at, and how do they actually recognize those skills as they move through elementary, middle school, and high school. As we know, the career choices are vast and they're ever-changing. So along the way, I think we always think about how do we look at our students and help them find the pathway that works for them and not for their friends or their parents, but for them. And so we think about that as we work on career and technical education and career development. I'm going to click through these real quick, but when we talk about characteristics of a high-quality CTE program, what we can share with you is nationally, we're looking at our curriculums. Are they aligned to standards, just like our core academics, and do they align with Common Core? Our biggest partnership is our business industry. We are looking at them to tell us what is the need for the future and how do we help our kids get there. And then for us is to think about what are the pathways. Like I said, there are students that might choose military. There are students that the career pathway they're looking at is a 4-year degree. Some require a 2-year degree. Some are work or apprenticeships. And valuing all of those pathways is important for us to think about. We want them to be able to apply skills to show what they can do, and we want them to integrate academics into that project-based learning. Technology in our labs is a huge enhancement to help our students have the real experience in the classroom. We want our students to learn, not just be there. And we want them to have an experience that looks like the workforce that they might enter in. And finally, the big part that we're talking about with our community partnerships is the 4 C's. And the idea that soft skills aren't just soft, they are hard skills. We need you to show up on time, be responsible, take on leadership roles, be able to get along and communicate. And those are now becoming our hard skills for the future of our workforce. In Fargo Public Schools, we are so appreciative to be a part of your strategic plan. And when we look at where we fit into this picture, we are a part of student achievement and growth. We want our students to be a part of this conversation in CTE, so we are working on curriculum frameworks for all of our courses, which is kind of an undertaking because we have around 65 courses and about 8 different programs to work with. We are looking at how do we assess those students to know they're learning, and again, integrating 21st century skills. And our baseline for making this work come to fruition is through our professional learning communities. And some extra curriculum writing time in the summer or throughout the school year. Advisory committees, we are a part of the community outreach and communication to the community. We have advisory committees for all of our programs. We work with our business partners to set up job shadows. We try to incorporate some enhanced work experiences. Our true ultimate goal is to have students be able to have maybe an internship by the time they're a senior. Another component, a part of the strategic plan, is our involvement with STEAM. And for us, what is STEAM? It encompasses a lot of those acronyms between science, STEM, or technology, engineering, arts, and math, so there's a broad spectrum. We think about it as core application, so applying academics, integrated learning, so maybe you're doing math within your construction project. We're thinking about it as a problem. What is the problem and how do we solve it? How do we think through a process, the engineering design process from start to finish or redesign? Creativity is demonstrated in all this process. And then finally, the last component is technology, to make it a tool that we can use to make a product. So those are pieces of STEAM that are within all of our courses, or a majority of our courses. And we'll see that anywhere from our very engineering courses and Project Lead the Way, to FACS, to information tech, construction, automotive, health sciences. It's across the board in our career tech courses. Last time when I met with you, we talked and had a presentation from our 7th grade students, our 8th grade students, on the design and modeling for Project Lead the Way. And on the left-hand side are some of the units that they were involved with first semester and second semester at both 7th and 8th grade. And first semester went well, but now they've had a chance to do the curriculum one more time and it's getting better. Moving forward, we will leap into the automation robotics for our 8th grade. And in that particular semester course, our 8th grade students will learn about what is automation, what are robotics, what are mechanical systems, how do we take and code a brick and make this mechanical machine now run and function like a computer or like a machine. And so we'll start that next semester, fall semester. So that's kind of just a leap moving forward. They'll still integrate some of their design units by developing a CO2 car and implementing some of their current units when they have some extra time. So that's going to happen moving forward. In the strategic plan, we talk about co-curriculars, and I actually, sorry, I had to update this photo for just CTE. I took out the baseball player, which was probably Mr. Leitz's son, maybe, no, playing baseball. And I put in, today I was at Cheyenne High School, which was a neutral site for the culinary arts competition. And Davies had 3 teams. There was a team from Devil's Lake and a team from Minot, and they were over showing off their culinary skills. So it was like Top Chef. And that was through our co-curricular and through FCCLA. And I thought that was just a great opportunity to let you know that beyond the athletics, we have DECA, FBLA, FCCLA, Skills USA, and robotics that helps our students take what's in the classroom and extend it beyond the school day. And there's a lot of leadership and competition roles in that opportunity. So that's supporting the strategic plan as well. Skills USA is a student organization for our trade and industry, so construction, automotive, welding, automated manufacturing, and actually health sciences fits under that as well. They have a regular competition, and there's a lot of scholarships at the national level if students successfully place at the national level. Those are the main 4 goals that Ryan Pierce and I have been working. Ryan Pierce is a CTE curriculum facilitator this year, and we've been working on those 4 goals specifically with our staff. But then along the way, when we look at our positive school culture, we are CTE for all students. And if you're a non-traditional student, helping our students see that if you're a female, you can be a diesel mechanic. Or if you're a male, it's okay to be a nurse. So we talk a lot about that. And then also looking at the pathways is important for all students. When we look at resources and planning, the budget, of course, is a conversation this time of the year. Quality instructors, safe environments, and high-tech equipment. We are more expensive to operate, but the whole goal is to provide that real work experience. and a safe experience. And finally, continuous improvement. We are looking for student growth. We are trying to figure out how to measure that at any given time, whether that's a skills assessment or whether that is a test. But we will continue to work on that. And professional development to ensure all our teachers are ready to be in the classrooms. So that's how we relate to our strategic plan in Fargo. As you can see up on the board, it's quite a variety of programming that we have available. Up on the left-hand side is the automotive program at South, and they are building a car right now in their shop, and that's the car they're building through Skills USA. Pretty cool. Very creative, a lot of steam going on. It's actually a real engine, but it's a STEAM project. When we look in the middle, our construction program, obviously that speaks volumes because you can see it outside of the schools. Down on the bottom, our automated manufacturing program, I've just been so impressed with how students take their drawings and turn it into a code, and they turn it into metalwork, and they actually build a trailer, so it's a big production process. Cisco networking, culinary, marketing and business finance, all of these programs are within the 3 high schools in Fargo Public Schools. It's a lot cheaper for our students to explore careers in high school than in college, and sometimes they find out this is their pathway, and sometimes they find out it's not, and they explore another pathway. That's a little bit about Fargo Public, and I don't know if you have any specific questions. John?
Madam Chair, Dr. Jonas, is that home you showed across from Carl Ben, or is that on University?
No, that's on Carl Ben.
That's on Carl Ben,
Yeah.
and I was wondering, is there some potential still unfolding that the district may be able to partner in some instances with Habitat for Humanity, or any potentials of that at all at this point?
We're still having conversations. We've kind of skipped into another conversation right now with a city project, and we will be working with the Herdina Academy. And so in this example, Habitat is still fundraising for their home, so every time they build a home, they're needing to fundraise for it. The city had funding, but the project was too costly for us to actually build this year, so we were trying to find a way to actually build the garage in the summer and reduce our labor costs. And we found out that M-State has a high school 2-week program that they offer to students. And so working with the Home Builders Association and Home Builders Care and the Herdina Academy, we will actually build that garage in the summer and then build the house next year. And then we're going to finalize that plan now in April, and then we'll start working on Habitat House potentially for the following year. So.
And if I might continue, is it a mixture going forward of building on location, or is it still some built to move to sites, or because I'm wondering, this is down the road, if they are building houses to be moved, if there's any consideration of not a 100-foot lot style house, but a 50-foot lot style house, so they can actually move them into North Fargo, for example, where the lots aren't wide enough for a Rambler type home. So I'm just curious about that.
We are definitely looking at the variety of homes so that we aren't stuck with them sitting on our lots after build. And we've been working with our realtors. So at Davies, we built the 1,800 square foot house this year versus another 1,500. And at North, we built 2 1,500 square foot homes, and we redesigned them based on feedback from why they didn't sell. And then the conversation of changing our floor plan so that we can slide it into a city lot is another conversation that we'll be working on. But it's kind of a little slow process when we take on each project. So the first project this year was the city, getting that Herdina Academy going. That will be a good way for us to revolve a city project every year.
Denise, do you have a national organization like we have the National School Boards Association? Is there a CTE type group that you consult with?
Great question. Yes, there's a national ACTE, which is the Association for Career and Technical Education. Okay. And so there is a national organization, and within each program area, teachers have an opportunity to be a member of their own business and marketing, or there's actually trade and industry, so there's also sub-professional organizations for our teaching staff. I went to the national conference this year in New Orleans, and there's a leadership strand, and then there's strands for family consumer science in all of the program areas.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I'll just share a little bit about
Is this,
the
you have more to go?
virtual
Okay.
center. Okay. If you don't mind, I'll go cruise forward. In 2014, when I came on board and we made the transition, the idea was from the leaders in the community to start to partner. These programs are great experiences for students, but sometimes they're a challenge. Sometimes they're more costly, and enrollments are electives, and they go up and down a little bit, and also finding instructors can make it challenging. So working together, we can be sometimes more efficient to provide these opportunities. Fargo Public, Northern Cass, and West Fargo Public Schools started the initiative, and fortunately this year, Central Cass has joined us, and we'll be sending schools starting this summer and this fall to partner with our Career and Technical Education Center. Probably the biggest conversation I continue to explain is what is a virtual center. We are a center because we have 3 or more schools as recognized by the state of North Dakota and the Department of Career Tech Ed. We have to have a 3 to be a center. It is multiple sites versus many of the original career centers with 1 location and students transported there. So there's a variety of models. This is the model we're using right now. Distance delivery is probably a mechanism to help compensate for travel. And then we have a governing board. So on our governing board, we have 1 board member, which is Dave Paulson, who comes to our governing board, and we meet 4 times a year. And then we have an advisory council, which Dr. Gross sits on as a representative. And then we have principals that meet twice a year to help us do logistics with courses. So that's where we're at with the model. And our schools just spring out from a hub. And we look at what programs we have available and how can we be efficient in sharing those programs. So when we move forward, I think, really thinking about what our goals are, we want, again, prepare students for emerging careers. We want them to be career ready and college ready. Expanding and sharing is different. I mean, even though Fargo Public does that within the 3 high schools, this just has a bigger arena to work with. And our rural schools may not have access, so it's really a benefit to them in our Cass County region. We work as far as looking at the state and the regional workforce, and we are leveraging dollars by the center concept. We can compensate. This year we are receiving 74% reimbursement, where in more comprehensive programs they receive 17% or 27% reimbursement. So as a center, we are able to kind of capitalize on some state funds a little differently. Again, teacher sharing, it's been great. We have a lot of programs that are singlets, and how do they learn from each other when they're the only person? So now going across districts has helped us share ideas. And obviously our leadership's vision is a big part of how this will move forward. When we look around where our programs are at, under the virtual center, we have 5 programs right now. The welding technology is actually at the Skills and Technology Center, and that program has really taken off. This year we had we had 17 students in the class. We had 4 from Northern Cass. Next year's requests were at 28. And that was just at North High. So that was a huge leap. We have a health sciences program at West Fargo High. They did not have a health sciences program. And at Fargo North High, they did not have a program. So we started those under the virtual center. Automated manufacturing already was in existence at Fargo South, but the enrollments kind of fluctuate, so we've opened that up for all of our schools to be able to sign up and participate to maintain some stability. Northern Cass is the only ag school in our membership, and it's just creating opportunities for students in that particular field. And then, of course, our aviation and diesel technology programs are our 2 more unique new programs, and they are located at Cheyenne High right at this moment. Students this year were able to take a flight with Young Eagles, and we have a couple students from Fargo North that are participating. And next year we have about 9 students, I think, from Davies that are coming in with both of those programs. Just a fast look at the diesel shop. Some people ask, what does the space look like? I think you could always have more space when you're working with such a large program, but we are really fortunate with the state funding to be able to buy some equipment and tools. It's a big purchase. And our business partners have been fantastic to bring in equipment when we need it. And then off to the side, we have a classroom as well, so there's a combination of both for lab and learning. Next year, what we are working on is computer programming is really a high need area as we move forward with manufacturing. And we've kind of take a step back and looked at our computer programming pathway. We have some existing courses and combined a couple courses, and we've offered those across the region. And we've had a lot of interest in the computer programming strand moving forward. Our Cisco networking, even though there is tremendous amount of employment opportunity, our enrollments kind of go up and down, so we're looking to see how we can share that particular pathway without losing it, but be able to create that opportunity for kids. So that's another reason why those two are new in our sharing model. And finally, the last thing under the virtual center is we'd really try to look at is how do we look at the big picture for kids by doing some enhancement activities. So first, Lego League is one of our big visions to help students in the area have a opportunity to learn about robotics. Girls in Aviation, we took a trip to Grand Forks, and we'll have some more events related to girls in aviation moving forward. Girls in Engineering, it was a success with NDSU. 250 students participated that day, 60 from Fargo, and there's a lot of interest as far as making it a bigger event. And then finally, in the summer, we'll have our metro area tech camp and just really helping our kids focus on technology for the future. So we stay involved as a center to help just bridge for all of our schools. So those are some enhancement activities that we do through the virtual center. So when I kind of just recap, our 5 programs would be ag, aviation, diesel, health sciences, and welding, and then moving into information technologies. And that's kind of where the center is at right now. And I guess moving forward, we'll see how things unfold.
That's fantastic. Any questions? Yes, David.
Madam President, it's been so much fun working with Denise this year. I've been on the board for a year, and in that time, she's added central CAS and diesel technology, and she's assembled an incredible staff. They've got a hospital ward basically set up in Cheyenne High School, which apparently was something to put together because they've got the beds were like 2,000 pounds, and you had no way to get them in there. You brought them in through a window or something, didn't you? I mean,
It's a miracle.
I was listening to the one of the guys explaining it. It's a real gem to have this this career tech ed center because the kids are getting opportunities that we just simply can't. We couldn't give them as a single school, and just kudos to Dr. Jonas. She packs 28 hours into every day. She's really doing an incredible job.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have a question. This is so fantastic. I have a question about, you touched on it briefly, the school culture and in the buildings. I happened to be talking about this with my son just last night, and I was kind of bragging up the whole emphasis on all these different pathways for kids now and how they're all valued. And, you know, my son, who's 4 years out of high school, ended up in a field, you know, massage therapy. One of his roommate is a gaming designer, and his other friend is an electrician, none of whom took the traditional college route. And back when they were in school, it still felt like, you know, there's the college lane and there's the loser lane. And it seems like you're really addressing that they're all valued. Could you speak to that a little bit, that change in culture that starts really young?
You know, it's interesting because we have that conversation a lot, and I think the thing is how do we value every occupation, from the maintenance staff to the doctor in the hospital, because all of those roles are important. It's like at a school, if we didn't have our admin assistants, how would we even get our work done in our offices, and without the teachers? It's such a team effort, but there always has been a little bit of a stigma about what is and what isn't the way to go, and sometimes we use the word just. They just are going to 2-year school, or they're only getting a 2-year degree. So as we move forward with career planning, we really have to be, you know, conscientious about, you know, every job's important, because if you have a job, you're contributing to our community and to society. And how do we help, you know, paint that picture for our students? Childcare, our family consumer science programs, sometimes people think they're a way of the past, but they prepare our childcare, our social workers, our culinary arts You know, it's just important for us to make sure that we kind of keep that at the forefront when we talk to our parents and talk to our students. And I think that's a big part of developing the pathways so that we can share. There's a purpose for why you are good at what you do and what you want to do and how to get there, and it's okay that it doesn't look the same. It's not all requiring a four-year degree, but some do. So just be ready to think about that for your commitment and your funding, you know, depending how that looks. So we do, it's a big conversation, but I think it will always be an ongoing conversation.
Well, I really appreciate the focus on that. Anyone else? Any questions? Thank you very much for all the good work you do. That's really exciting, and it's fun to see the students exploring those different areas.
Thank you for all the time tonight again.
Thank you. Terrific. Dr. Schatz, policy update.
As you know, we've reviewed several policies over the last year or two, and I think this is kind of just a follow-up policy that we did not have, and so we've worked on this one. I bring it to you, just to your attention, that we're adding this to our list of policies. It's a power differential relationship in the workplace, and it's something that I think we needed to have on the books. Really is all about supervisor and subordinates and work relationships. If we ever have that situation going on, what are the details that and the procedures and policies that we should be following? And so I feel good about all of our employees and where we're at with this. It's not that we developed something because we thought we had a problem, but I think it's being proactive and just making sure that these things are spelled out. So I think the policy is pretty simple and straightforward. If anybody had any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
And this is information only, or of course, we don't weigh in on administrative policies, but if there's something that's a little more out of the ordinary or would have some far-reaching effect, then it's usually brought to the board. So, any questions for Dr. Schatz or comments? This looks really good, and that's where you can really get into some snarls, so thank you for being proactive with that.
And just one other comment on policies. I'm currently developing a list of policies that I feel we need to review, and so we'll be doing that over the summer, and with the anticipation that in August we bring those to you to show you what we've done. I want to get into a regular rotation of policy review, and so been going through and looking at what I think is next on the docket, so we'll be doing that and bringing it forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. If there are no other comments, moving on to an update about Eagles. Brock, please.
Madam President, members of the board, as you are aware, we are in the midst of a remodel and addition to Eagles Elementary with the opportunity to open that this coming fall. I was over at the construction meeting today, and that project is moving along very nicely. As a matter of fact, it's in that stage where weekly at construction meetings, even daily, there's significant changes that happen when you start to do the interior painting and you put the drop ceilings in and all of those things. It really starts to take shape in a hurry. Typically with construction of new facilities, especially for schools, we like to get certificate of occupancy by July 1st. We don't see any reason why we shouldn't be on that schedule. As a matter of fact, we reviewed with the construction manager today the progress of Ed Clapp Elementary at this same stage a year ago, and we feel that we are well ahead of that schedule. And of course, part of that is we were in essence building half a school. We were remodeling the other portion, and so we gained some efficiencies there and some time. But it's all systems go. It looks great in there. It really resembles a school much differently than it did when we broke ground, and feel like there's no concerns with our goal to have that ready for the fall. So I think you'll be very happy with it when you see it. When the time comes that it seems to make sense to do a tour, we certainly, as with our other buildings, would make arrangements for any of you who would like to do that. You will see a lot of similarities in the new addition to that which we opened at Ed Clapp. We used much of the same in the instructional area, the commons, the office. It's almost a replica with a little smaller footprint, and so yeah, we're just very happy with the progress, and things are moving along great, and I think it's just important for you to know kind of status-wise where we're at with that.
Thank you, Brock. Any questions? Drive past it every day. It's fun to see. And then leading into another update, the Operations Center, now that we spent an hour of our lives signing paperwork and
correct.
Getting big checks?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, so this has been a long process, as you know, and just briefly started with the desire of the city to purchase the warehouse behind us and the flood wall project that the city is undertaking, and the partnership that was with the Diversion Authority and the joint the Rural Cass Joint Water District. And so, where we're at as of today, your board president and I closed on this project with the all the parties last week, and so we have received payment in full for the purchase and relocation, and we are just awaiting the frost to leave the ground so we can open up that land and start the project on 40th Avenue South. A little update, stage one really is going to be, we'll be seeing a portion of the current warehouse facility being tore down. The back third, if you haven't been in this area lately, the former Shakey's location is now no longer. That has been torn down. It's our understanding that they will move on to the Howard Johnson and then come to our building, so they're kind of moving their way north. And so we suspect they are in there right now, taking out ductwork, et cetera, cabinetry that needs to be removed before they come in and take that back third off. But we suspect that could happen within the next days or weeks as they just move from building to building coming north, all of which we expected and certainly know that that would be happening. The next piece then is, as you know, we, a few meetings back, we awarded bids for the Operations Center on 40th Avenue South, and we will be, the job trailer for Gertz Construction Services is over there, and we'll be opening up that ground as soon as possible this spring and getting started with that. We feel very optimistic if we get a good spring because we are using prefab construction with a lot of the walls in that building. So when that work starts, you will see a lot happening in short order, because once we get the foundations and stuff in and we put the prefab walls in, they start to come up very quickly. Our anticipation is to finish that project in early to late spring with the plan of moving all of our trades, our central kitchen, all of our warehouse, the print shop, the grounds operation into that facility next summer, so a little more than a year from now. Many components of that may be able to move in earlier, and we will move in as we can. But the kitchen, obviously the central kitchen, we cannot move until we finish next school year. So the time frame would be to get that moved in as soon as the school year is done, and use early summer to get in there, get everything tested, make sure everything is working appropriately in the kitchen and ready to go. Our hopes is that much of the rest of the building we can be moving in sooner, but we'll see what happens. I mean, with construction, every time you say we'll get in sooner, we get in later, so we'll wait and see what happens there. But very optimistic, certainly appreciate Linda's time in coming over and finalizing that process, and it's all systems go now with that construction, and we'll see movement on that happening very soon.
Great, thank you, Brock. Robin?
So I know that there were some buyouts for the flood buyouts. Who actually wrote us the checks for those buyouts?
Yeah, was it the Diversion Authority? Correct, yes. So it was, the Diversion Authority is where the check came from that was payable to Fargo Public Schools. And the reason I hesitated is, as you know, there's the Cass County Joint Rural Water Board, the Diversion Authority, and the city, but the functioning purchasing agency is the Diversion Authority.
Madam Chair, Brock, what's the status of the dry side of the dike after the project?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
It was school property, and is that developable land for other investors down the road, or do we have rights to it?
Are you talking the existing property?
Yes, yes.
The current property, the warehouse that's behind
Yes.
us? Yeah. Madam President, members of the board, so the combination of the Diversion Authority and the city purchased that entire facility for us. And right now, all we know for certain is that they will be removing the back third of that. They'll be putting up a temporary wall through the drive-through, and we will be continuing to use that until our new facility is finished. Once we're leasing back that space from the city for a nominal fee. Once we vacate that completely, I do not have confirmation as to what the plans are for that facility. We will no longer own it. It will be, I'd have to look at the exact plat of the land. I believe what we will own will be right up to the drive-through that goes behind the district office, or the drive that then leads to the credit union. But the land that the building sits on and the land and the building itself will be the property of the purchaser and their plans for it. I am not privy to that or knowledgeable of what might be happening with that going forward.
Dr. Schatz?
There's one other piece too. The generator that sits back here is also going to still be where it's at. And so whatever that little parcel of land across the street would have to be part of something within that deal.
Yeah, and actually, that had some twists and turns. Originally, they were gonna carve out that little square that the generator sits on, and we were gonna retain ownership. What's happening now is part of an easement is that, they will own that property. They've granted an easement to us for our generator to sit on it, and in the event that somewhere down the road, something happens with that property, they will assist us in relocating that generator, yes.
Any other questions? Great, thanks for the updates. Appreciate it. Financial Planning Task Force update. It was fun to see the group at work again last night. Dr. Schatz?
That's correct. We had our third meeting last night. We had, again, very good attendance, only a couple of people who could not be with us. We put our groups to work last night working in themed areas where we had received feedback from them from the previous meeting. And so I asked Rachel to put together an activity called SWOT, Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. And we had combined those into 5 different areas. Curriculum standard of effort was one area, class size, transportation and field trips, 21st century skills, technology, college or career readiness, and the other group was educating our stakeholders. And so we spent the evening talking about those 5 particular areas. We're collecting that feedback right now, and what I'm going to do with that feedback is put it together in a document that I can send to you so you can have access to that to see some of the responses. That certainly will not be the last report that I give you from this group, but it'll give you an update as to what are the ongoing conversations. Again, very impressed with the group of people that we have. I think we have a lot of people who are walking away now saying, okay, I get it, and really never understood the complexity and just the depth of the district and how big we really are and all the different pieces and parts that go with that. And so the students who are involved are engaged and doing a great job. The parents, teachers, administrators, we have people at large from the community that are on that group. And so, again, a very good group. And we meet again in 2 weeks. And I'm anticipating maybe 2 more meetings, maybe 3. And then once that's done, we'll be coming to you with a full report as to the outcome of the discussions and any kinds of information or things that they want you to know as a board from their perspective with regard to district finances and moving forward with what we need to look at.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, well, thank you for keeping that moving forward so smoothly. I'd entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda. Robin?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Consent agenda items are approved. There's only one business item, the district calendar monitoring. Thank you, those of you who were able to fill this out. And at this point, I would ask if anyone has any question or any comments that they would like to make in addition to what was written down. Rebecca.
I unfortunately did not complete that evaluation.
Ms.
and-
Knutson, you
yeah.
serve on the calendar
I know,
committee.
I know. We talked about this last night, remember? So yeah, that's, I don't know, I was in the process of getting a new phone, and I rely on my phone to check my email a ton, and Anne Marie, as we know, sends out numerous reminders to us, and so I don't know, for some silly reason, I didn't get that one, so I really apologize. But I would have rated it in compliance, and I just wanted to, I think what I'll do, I have some comments, but they're in about 5 different areas, and maybe they're suggestions similar to what has already been indicated in the areas. I'll just say what areas they're in, and then maybe what I should do is just type up my comments, and I don't know if I should forward them to you, Anne Marie, but I'd ultimately like Dr. Gross probably to take a look at them. But they're in the areas of collaboration in regard to districts. So I guess, I know it seems like, at least from Dr. Gross, what you've said, Fargo usually takes the lead on putting the calendar together in front of West Fargo, but I don't really know if we have any issues there or not, but if we, if there's anything more that we need to explore there. Some of the comments regarding the start and the stop times of schools or of classes and when kids learn the best, and, any more research that we have on that and what we can do about it. I know that the middle schools start at 8:40 and 8:50, and I think that's every day of the week from what I remember dropping my kids off at school. So, what are we doing in terms of those accommodations to, if research actually does show that kids learn better, retain more with a later start?
I think that's not a calendar issue, though.
It's not, it was mentioned in here in terms of, for some reason, in terms of our schedule of our day. And I just, I don't think it's a calendar issue either, but I just noticed it was mentioned.
Fair enough.
And then staff development, it was interesting to sit on the calendar committee again, and the comments that were shared from staff about professional development, and at least what I gather, seemed to be most receptive to staff development earlier in the day versus later in the day, and earlier in the week versus later in the week. So the idea of being fresh for learning. So I wanted to pass that on. And the scheduling block days of breaks, like the spring breaks or the longer breaks, I know that we had a survey that went out to staff and parents last year, I think it was, right? And it basically came back as overall, it was kind of almost a 50-50 in terms of there really wasn't an overarching preference. And so what we did decide to do to address that was to try to please half of the people half of the time. And so this year, there isn't a long break. Next year, there is a week-long break. And we'll see still for the 17-18 calendar how that comes back once the PTA reviews it and comes to us. But I guess I know one of the comments on the compliance issue, I think it talks about that the superintendent, what does it say? The superintendent may not fail to consider scheduling block days. And I guess my own opinion is that that leaves it up to interpretation in terms of what those block days are. We put a survey out and we asked, like we said, parents and staff what the preferences would be. The information came back, at least at that time, 50-50, and so I think we tried to do as a calendar committee, meet kind of the recommendations from the survey. So those are the comments that I would have put down, and thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing, and you're absolved. It was technology is the culprit here. John,
Chair, I'll move that we receive this report, this monitoring report.
would you be willing to suggest that Rebecca's comments will be added later, or do you want to just leave that
No,
out of it?
absolutely. If you're inclined to just add them to the comment section, perhaps, that'd be fine.
Would that be okay? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Paul?
Well, as long as we're adding Rebecca's comments, I sent in my sheet too, and perhaps you'd be kind enough to include that as part of the motion and include my comments too.
Thank you. Would you call the roll, please, Anne Marie?
Knudsen,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Strand,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes. Motion passes. And I don't mean to start any sort of new late comments run. As always, we hope to get these in under Anne Marie's deadline, so we're not adding things after the fact. Board reports. Dinah, you're the most recently returned person to town. You can start.
As a result of that, I don't have anything to report, but thank you.
No, I don't have anything to report. I've been busy, but I had nothing to report.
Paul,
I have
please.
nothing to report either.
Okay. David?
Ditto.
Rebecca?
Let's see, the Communications Committee is going to meet on April 25th at noon. There was a conflict in regard to, Anne Marie, remind me what the conflict was?
The district's accreditation visit from Advanced Ed would have been held on that next meeting date, so we have moved that so that there's not a conflict.
That's right, so we'll go for April 25th, and I was happy to observe the Financial Planning Task Force last evening. Lots of great conversations, so thank you very much.
Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Jim?
Just a reminder, planning's meeting next Tuesday in this room at 7:30, and for those of you on planning, we have a time certain meeting because governance is going to start at 8:30 that day. So planning has to wrap up its work in the 60 minutes, so we're going to start on time.
Thank you. And I would note a correction on my report. I apologize. So the first thing on my report, it's actually planning at 7:30, governance at 8:30, and then, Robin, you were tentatively pulling your group together after that?
That, we're going to wait for Rebecca to confirm.
Okay, the three-person evaluation committee. Okay, so that's a possible addition after governance.
I will have it in the Friday update. That would be my plan.
Thank you, appreciate that. John?
Chair, I'll defer to Rebecca. She did have a communications committee meeting to get into our notation,
Oh, okay.
With all the talking I did before, I forgot.
So what would your communications committee is when?
Well, we are meeting, like we said, on the 25th, but we met most recently we're continuing the work on that GP. And we still need to get in on the 25th, so we need to get into the liaison role discussion we've been analyzing some of the earlier language in that GP, and which has to do with the process of school board election for president and vice president is what I mean, and some of those intricacies, and so some of that has tied us up, but at our next meeting, we'll get into that liaison responsibility and finish that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Jennifer on the phone? No. Oh, I just realized the phone is sitting there. It's like, who's on the phone?
She was maybe going to join us, so I set
Okay,
it up
okay.
just in case she was able to call in.
Thanks, that just struck me. It's like, we've been forgetting her. John, you had no report, correct?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Jim? Gave you your report, okay. Okay. We threw it back to Rebecca, it got me all thrown. So we know all the action that's happening on the 29th, and everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I would call your attention to April 18th. That is as mandatory as we get in making sure that everyone is on hand for that lunch meeting with the Advanced ED accreditation folks who will be here for the purpose of meeting with us. So make sure that you shuffle your calendar to make that happen. There's some homework due, and another reminder that we have your second round of liaison school visits that will be due. Thank you, Anne Marie, for sending out that email along with the form, so make sure you get those scheduled and completed by the 21st. And Anne Marie, are you waiting on anything in particular from board members, or are we? pretty much ready to go? Do you have
Not
any
at this
questions?
time. I'll continue to communicate with you about that accreditation visit with more details about that interview process. And then also just note that we have scheduled the opening event for Eagles. That's obviously quite a ways out in September, but just in case you want to get that on your schedules now, that's at the bottom of the list there.
Great, thank you. So that's it for my report. The Community Development Committee at City Hall did not meet this month, so I have nothing to report from that. Any other business before the board tonight? Our next meeting is April 12th, immediately following all of us returning from Boston. And thank you, Anne Marie, for making up these packets for us with all the info you need. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.